Hello all, and welcome back to Time to Dice Character Creation, where we make your favorite fictional characters in Starfinder 2nd Edition. Today, we're making Peter Quill, but you've probably heard of him by another name, the legendary outlaw, Star-Lord. No? Not ringing any bells? Oh well, on the introduction. Peter Quill is a half-human, half-celestial, who was abducted and raised by Ravagers who taught him the Ravagers Code, which basically boils down to steal from everyone. Peter was comfortable lying, cheating, and stealing his way through life until he befriended the friends who we would go on to found the Guardians of the Galaxy. Peter leads the Guardians through space as they strive to do good. Okay, mostly do good. Okay, sometimes do good. Alright, they aren't as bad as they could be. This build will dive mostly into the MCU version of Star-Lord, only taking inspiration from the comics when needed. So, beware of spoilers. Without further ado, let's get started. Alright. So as we're making Peter Quill, we just have to keep one word in mind. Legend, wait for it, dairy. Peter is a legendary outlaw, stealing from everyone who thinks he can get away with it, and some that he doesn't. He's a legendary pilot. His pride and joy is the Milano, but he can drive just about any ship he comes across. And finally, Peter is a legendary leader, always willing to put himself on the front line for his friends, provided they haven't been too annoying that day. You'd think branching into the cosmic side of the MCU would get us away from the human ancestry, but not this time. At least Peter Quill is only half human, so we've got that going for us. You know the drill by now. We get 8 hit points, a boost to charisma and dex, as well as a 25-foot movement speed. But, for our heritage, we can explore Peter's celestial side. Being the son of one of Marvel's most powerful races lets us take the Nephilim heritage, netting us low light vision. Kind of underwhelming for such a powerful lineage, but Quill made a point of not honing his celestial magic, so we're not going to delve much deeper in this build either. Alright, for our background, I think I've said the word outlaw enough that if I picked any other background, it would feel disingenuous. Our time spent with the Ravagers may not have been the most pleasant experience, but it did earn us an attribute boost to both dexterity and charisma, as well as training in both intimidation and underworld lore. We also get intimidating shot. There are a lot of languages in the Marvel Universe, but most of them will get the message when you start taking pot shots. For our class, Envoy is the go-to leadership class in Starfinder, and it also has the luxury of giving us all the skills that we need for someone as well-traveled as Quill. The Envoy class gives us expert in reflex and will saves. Reflex because we've gotten pretty good at dodging gunfire, and will saves because we can be a bit hard-headed. For our skills, we get trained in our choice of diplomacy, intimidation, or deception. Which we choose doesn't really matter at this point, as we'll get all 3 by the end of our skill selection, due to the additional 6 plus intelligence skills of our choice. Plus, another skill based off of what leadership style we choose. We also pick up training in simple and martial weapons, so that we can use whatever Rocket puts into our hands, and finally, training in only up to light armor. For our attributes, Peter may be a sharpshooter and one of the best pilots in the galaxy, but it's his sharp tongue that got him this far, so we're going to maximize our charisma score. Next, we'll go to dexterity, because we still need to be a good shot and a great pilot. Constitution is only at a +1. Peter isn't the most durable of the Guardians, but he does hold the Power Stone without instantly turning into confetti, so that's something. And Wisdom, because when you grow up with the Ravagers, it's good to be able to pick up when someone is lying to you. For our skills, we get Legendary Deception to mislead our foes, so that we can use our Legendary Thievery to steal from those foes. Piloting is also legendary to drive the Milano through asteroid fields. Oh, sorry, quantum asteroid fields. We're in space, so you have to add quantum. Our master skills are society and underworld lore, to find contacts when we find something valuable. Intimidation and diplomacy, so we can interact with the world, regardless of what mood we're in. And finally, we get training in acrobatics, stealth, and survival, skills we picked up from the Ravagers. Oh, and we may need to partake in the dance-off to save the galaxy, so we have to make sure to get performance up to legendary as well. Alright. At level 1, like all envoys, we have to pick a leadership style. And while Peter would probably describe his leadership style as something like bravely leading from the front, with none of the glory and all of the danger, the truth is, when you have a team like Peter's, you really have no choice but to pick the guns blazing leadership style. This style gives us training in acrobatics and the incredible initiative feat, letting us be the first into the fray with, well, guns blazing. We also get the Envoy directive, Get 'em, letting us single out a single foe within 60 feet and sick our much more powerful friends on them. That enemy takes a -1 penalty to their AC until the next turn. If you lead by example, your allies also deal additional damage on each of their attacks. We also get the Social Mastermind feature, letting us spend a bit of time sizing up an asset to learn a bit more about them. Once we have an asset, we have a bonus to Deception, Diplomacy, Intimidation, and Perception checks against that asset. And we can use the Saw It Coming feature, meaning whenever we roll initiative, we get to step, stride, or draw a weapon. Technically, we also get a +1 to the roll, but Incredible Initiative feature doesn't stack with this and provides a bigger bonus. For feats, we're going to get the Ancestry feat, Haughty Obstinacy, letting us critically succeed whenever we would usually succeed against a mental effect that tries to control us. And for the class feat, we get Quip, letting us use our reaction whenever a foe within 30 feet is hit to demoralize that opponent. You should use this reaction early and often. This is the MCU after all. Peter almost always has a plan, but the amount of those plans that come to fruition on the first try are, well, close to zero. That's why it's important to be willing to change your plan rather than sticking to the original. So at level 2, we get the Change of Plans class feat. Now, when a foe becomes, let's say, no longer applicable for our Got 'em directive, we can use a reaction to use Got 'em on a different foe. At level 3, we get the Fleet feat, letting us be a bit quicker than your average half-human, half-all-powerful Celestial. We also get Adaptive Talent, letting us pick a brand new skill feat each day to help us that day. And Wise to the Game, giving us a +1 bonus to resist being lied to or attempts to demoralize us. And this bonus doubles against our asset. Speaking of assets, at level 4, we can protect our most valuable asset with the Not in the Face class feat. When we're targeted by a melee attack, this feat lets us attempt a deception check against the attacker's will DC. On a success, the target takes a -1 circumstance penalty on all attacks made against us for a round, and double that on a crit success. The target is then immune to Not in the Face for an hour, so you probably need to be careful not to get into that melee position again. At level 5, we pick up the Ancestry feat, Nephilim Resistance, to gain resistance to acid, cold, electricity, fire, or sonic damage. I don't know which of those would be considered Power Stone damage, but your GM might let you know if it comes up. We also get Perception Expertise and Weapon Expertise, boosting both our Perception and Weapon proficiencies to Expert. We also get Practiced Influencer, letting us roll a Deception, Diplomacy, or Intimidation checks twice and use the better result once per day. At level 6, we unleash our most powerful ability, the Gift of Gab, with the Confounding Disposition class feat, letting us attempt either a Deception or Diplomacy check against the will DC of any creature within 30 feet. On a success, the creature is stupefied for a round as they try to decipher the sheer absurdity of what you just said, and on a critical success, not only are they stupefied, but they're also stunned 1. Also at this level, we get our leadership style's Act of Leadership, meaning whenever we make a ranged attack with a multiple attack penalty, make an area or auto fire attack, or reload an expended weapon, we automatically count as leading by example for any of our directives given that round. At level 7, we're actually going to give up our general feat for a skill feat, and we always cover those at the end, leaving us with no options to talk about, but we do get Expert Fortitude proficiency with Fortitude Expertise, increased damage with Weapon Specialization, the Improvised Mastery feature, letting us become Master with any skill check once per day, and Leader's Confidence, letting us grant our allies temporary hit points, and possibly giving them a bonus to saving throws if we can lead by example. Peter Quill gets a lot done with Blind Confidence, and at level 9 we can reflect that with Confident Actualization, letting us reroll a saving throw or skill check once per day. Also, our class DC is increased to Expert with Envoy Expertise. And Hidden Agenda lets us keep our mind to ourselves, even against effects that usually would reveal that sort of thing. Mantis, hands off. At level 10, we get the class feat, Got 'em. I have no justification for this, except that's what Star-Lord shouts if you activate his on reveal in Marvel Snap. You should play Marvel Snap if you like card games, it's pretty cool. This feat lets us give our allies temporary hit points whenever they hit the target of our Get 'em directive. At level 11, we once again give up our general feat for a skill feat, once again leaving us with no options to talk about this level. But we do get Perception Mastery and Resolve, increasing both our Perception and Will proficiencies to Master, and increasing our Will saves from successes to critical successes. At level 12, we get Ready for Anything. No, that's the class feat. It gives us an extra reaction every turn we don't use a directive to our allies. This lets us hold our own more if we find ourselves alone, or if our allies are feeling particularly stubborn that day. At level 13, we can use the Ancestry feat General Training to pick up the Streetwise skill feat, which we will cover at the end. We have a lot of skill feats in this build, could you tell? We also get the Tactician feature, granting us access to the Show 'em What You Got directive. This directive lets us encourage our allies into doing what they do best, ensuring they succeed with their strikes, skills, or spells. We also get master proficiency with weapons and expert proficiency with armor at this level. And Effortless Influencer lets us gain the benefits of Practice Influencer 3 times per day, rather than once. At level 14, we get the class feat Do It Now, letting our allies fulfill our directives using our actions rather than their own. Level 15 gives us Legendary Improvisation, letting us become legendary when we use Improvised Mastery. Peter has a lot of new, unique situations, and almost all of them are not things that you get general training for. We also get greater weapon specialization at this level, boosting our damage once again, and Reflex Mastery to boost our reflex to master. How many times can you yell, "Get 'em!" before, rather than jumping to follow your orders, your party all simultaneously turn back to you and yell, "We know"? Then, when they're all distracted yelling at you, rather than following your sage advice, they all get exploded by a fireball. Well, at level 16, the Extend directive lets us extend our previous directive one more round, avoiding that entire situation. And then, at level 17, we get Persistent Confidence, letting us keep the confidence even when all hope is lost. Like, when you're at the core of your father, who is also a planet who's trying to turn you into a cosmic battery while an entire fleet hunts you down because your friends stole some of their actual batteries. Yeah, in cases like that, it's important to keep confident. And you can use Confident Actualization once per hour rather than once per day. We'll need that. At level 18, your friends know they can trust your directives, even if you're not following them yourself, with the Follow the Leader feat, making you always count as leading by example, without having to actually spend the action to lead by example. At level 19, we get a couple of things, but the one worth mentioning is Silver Tongue, increasing our class DC to Master, as well as letting us reroll a Deception check once per day. And finally, at level 20, we get the class feat True Leader, letting us deliver an Envoy directive as a free action once per turn. Between this and the Follow the Leader feat we got earlier, we've completely gotten rid of the action tax associated with most envoys. Alright, remember those extra skill feats we got by giving up our general feats and even an Ancestry feat? Well, now we have to reap the consequences of our actions and cover all of those skill feats. The first skill feat we get is from our background, and it's the only intimidation feat on the list. Intimidating Shot lets us scare someone with the universal fear of every culture in the galaxy, being turned to Swiss cheese. For Diplomacy, we get the Shameless Request feat, letting us more easily convince someone to trust us, even though we may have betrayed them once or twice, or 9 times in the past. We also get a slew of deception feats, Charming Liar, so that even though we're full of crap half the time, people tend to like us for some reason. Lengthy Diversion, to direct our foe's attention away for just long enough so that your plan can come together. Feign Death, when we know we're beat, but we still want to, survive. And Master Troll, so that even when it comes to the highest stakes imaginable, we can interject just a little bit of comedic relief. For our performance feats, Fascinating Performance isn't good in combat, but we can still prevent the bad guy from activating the MacGuffin for a bit. And Inappropriate Joke, to interrupt the enemy's monologue with, once again, some comedic relief. We are the legendary pilot of the team, regardless of what Rocket might say, so we're going to get the Fly Anything skill feat, ensuring that we can pilot any vehicle. Take the Wheel lets us fight Rocket, even when we're driving the ship, and Stunt Maneuver and Push It are our bread and butter for overcoming enemy fleets. For our more run-of-the-mill thievery, the Pickpocket and Subtle Thief feats are perfect for switching out the Powder Orb for something a little bit more mundane, like a doll or something. And Legendary Thief lets us pull off even more implausible feats, such as stealing a fellow inmate's prosthetic leg. And finally, we have the Streetwise skill feat, so we can find a contact willing to buy our stolen cargo without raising too much suspicion. Alright, so when all is said and done, what do we have out of this build? Well, first off, we're the perfect balance of being annoying for our enemies and having low defenses that we can effectively take the attention off of our foes and redirect it onto ourselves. And once attention is successfully redirected, we have plenty of skills and options to become even more annoying. With skill feats like Master Troll and Inappropriate Joke, and legendary proficiency in 4 different skills, and another skill once per day, we can be fairly confident that we're going to at least be a thorn in our opponent's side. And finally, once all of our tricks are said and done, we still have the firepower of a marshal. With master weapon proficiency and greater weapon specialization, we may not be competing in damage with some of the more damaging classes like a fighter or barbarian, but we can definitely hold our own. But now for the cons. This build is great, but a large portion of it is distracting the enemy so your friends can take them out. Meaning, if you end up by yourself or your target just doesn't take the bait, it can often feel like you're not contributing too much compared to the rest. Next, you have a lot of ways to stall and redirect foes, and while that may be good strategically, it can also lead to fights seeming long and drawn out without you doing much that directly leads to the end of the combat. And finally, when we play optimally, this build can easily get a bit repetitive. Especially at low levels, your turns tend to be get 'em, lead by example, move into position. And that can very easily turn like you don't have a lot of options. But hey, don't be afraid to play unoptimally. If you want to not give a directive and just kind of fly off on your own, I think that fits Starlord perfectly. Alright, you've reached the end of the video. Now it's your turn. If you liked this video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe so that you can see more videos coming from us in the future. We do 2 videos a week here, and we are very proud of what we put out, but the only way we can show them to you and ensure that you get them is if you hit that subscribe button. Next week, we're starting something new for the channel, and let me tell you, you don't want to miss it.